adding a disconnected person to your current tree. So here's the scenario. We have a Selena Bryant here, and I've looked through some of the sources that are available, the hints that are given to find sources, and I've looked at the trees that other people have. And somebody else has Hester Bryant here, Hester Moody. So somebody has parents listed here. The one with the most sources is going to be listed first. It has some of the kids that I've identified. So we need to figure out if everybody's right or if something's amiss here. So what we're going to look at, now that we've just kind of reviewed other people's trees, I don't use someone's tree as my own source. I'll bring up the source that brought William and Hester Bryant together here. And Selena's 11 in 51, and that makes sense. She was born in 40, and she was 1 back in 41. So you'd think it could be right. So we'll look at the 41 census here, just to compare. She's 1 here, 11 here. Okay, they're born at the same time. But we've got Benjamin, Charles, and George, and there's no Benjamin, Charles, or George. Here's George here at 20. He's 7 here. He would be 17 over here. So I'm thinking they're different. This says Bradford. This says Somerset and Stanton Drew. So I'm thinking it's 2 different families because of that. And the fact that when I review this, it comes back as Hester Moody. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this particular feature, Ancestry add a potential mother and father here. You can get it both here in the hints or actually in the tree view as well. But it's going to be what other people have chosen. Now, because when we looked at the other trees, only a couple of people had chosen that and some didn't, it's just going to give you what people have done. So we could accept that and move on, or we can go figure out for ourselves who the mother really is. Now, the point of this is to add someone to our tree, right? But we're going to show you very quickly that we know that through our own research here, that Stanton Drew is in Somerset and Cluton. So we know that. And we know that Pensfold is where we think she was married from. I think it was the 41 census that we got that if we looked in the Grow Index, which is one of the most important tools we can use, Selena Bryant from Cluton District, which is going to be Penfold and Somerset, is Cobb. So because we see this as Cobb and not Moody, we're definitely thinking that this particular family, this Selena, is a different family. Because sometimes the census records, they were lazy and didn't list where people were actually born from. They'll list wherever the family exists now, and they'll just put it on there. So because of all of those things, that's a scenario. We're going to add a disconnected person to the family, or at least to the tree. And we can do that in 2 ways. One of which is to add the family and pick spouse and actually add her as Selena's spouse, and then go disconnect the relationship by doing edit relationships and disconnect it. Or we can go this route here. So if we're on Selena, we don't want to choose yes because that would add this source to this Selena. So we're going to click Selena's name here in this list and then do save as to a tree and then add it as a new person. And then we'll put her together here. As an individual, we're going to put number 2 because we know this is the second Selena we're looking at, and click Save. So this person now exists in the tree, but she's completely disconnected from any other family. But it didn't bring in her family when we did that. So what we want to do is actually click on this record we have, view the record, and do what we just did, which is to save it someone in the tree, and pick Selena again. SEL and number 2 and attach. And that will bring this source back up and allow us to attach the rest of her family to this record. So now we have the 2 separated families in our tree. And that being this Selena here where we believe Cobb is the mother because Charles is the father, and William and Bryant with this Selena here and her siblings here. One thing I failed to point out earlier, the reason we know this is Charles, and if we didn't know that, perhaps we would have followed with the other people who had selected that. But if we go back to the wedding here, on one of these, we'll see that Selena's father is Charles and not William. And that was the first clue as to this being a different family with Hester over here. And that's something obviously a number of people using Ancestry had missed because they selected them. And I can see why. It's just a matter of checking. But we got the marriage record with Charles, and of course you've got the Grow Index back here that says this mother is Cobb. Then we're going to create a new family in the tree and then source them out. So we'll put Cobb in here and put a question mark. And what we're expecting to do, if you remember, it's Anne that we noticed on that. We'll put a question mark so we know we need to confirm that, but we believe that. And what we'll do is step up and look at Charles Bryant and do some hints and try to find their wedding sources there. So that concludes when and how you would add a disconnected person, in this case a disconnected family, into our current tree.